Hello, welcome to Price Focus. I realise it said 10 o'clock will be live and it's 10 past 10, which is pretty much par of the course. So apologies for a late start, but Nottingham Forest are through in the Europa League, even though they lost 2-1 on the night to Fenerbahce, 4-2 win on aggregate. Pretty shoddy performance at times tonight, which we'll get into and see how the chaps are feeling about it all. Introducing first, former Reds midfielder Sam Collins. Sam, how are you doing?
Good, thanks, Matt. Yeah, just glad we're through tonight. Relief and just positive to get into the next round. But yeah, that first half wasn't the greatest.
No, certainly not. We'll get into that after we've introduced Chris Aylmer. Chris, how are you?
I'm all right, yeah. Just another typical night for Forest fans on the edge of their seats constantly for no reason when we shouldn't be, just biting our nails right to the end. But yeah, as you said, look, we're through. So I'm sure we'll have some negatives and then some positives because we are into the last 16 of the Europa League after all, even if it was almost a Yeovil Blackpool Norwich kind of night tonight.
Yeah, it had Stoke vibes, Yeovil vibes, certainly. I mean, just how bad would it have been, Sam, for player morale if we'd gone out?
Awful, because like all the players will be focused on the Premier League, but as well as that, they want to have a good run in the Europa League, I'm sure, and they'd just have even more backlash from the fans and even more pressure put on them and outside noise. And I think all the Forest players just want to shut out that outside noise. So if Forest hadn't gone through tonight, then I think it would have been terrible for the players.
What about the dressing room atmosphere after the game? Because we've lost again, lost on home turf. We are through. What will the mood be like in the dressing room after that, do you reckon?
I think it'll be a relief, but I think it'll be a bit of frustration that we made it harder than it should have been, in my opinion. I know they're always going to come out all guns blazing, but I don't think they're a great side, really. I haven't seen much from them in both legs to make me think they're a great side. So I think we made it harder than it should have been, but I think there'll be individuals in there like Ryan Yates and McAtee that will be frustrated in particular because Yates would have been thinking, this is my chance to show Pereira what I'm about. And I thought, as much as I love Yates, I think he struggled in the game. And the manager's substitutions paid off in the end. And I think McAtee, I felt for him at right wing. I'll touch on that shortly as to why I think that happened. But yeah, he'll be frustrated as well because he started to hit some good form. And then I don't think he was terrible in the first half, but I think it was probably the right thing to take him off and put a more direct winger on. So there'll be individuals in there, Matt, that will be frustrated, I think, after tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk about the subs and the players who, winners and losers on the night. There weren't many winners, but one or two I thought did okay. Not necessarily squad players, although one I thought did do all right, but we'll get into that. Chris, Sam said there, Fenerbahce weren't great. They went into the game absolutely decimated as well. They had a squad of 18, 3 of them were keepers, and we barely got through. What did you make of it in general? And then we'll branch out from there.
Listen, they're playing 4th and 5th choice centre backs. They're playing midfielders playing in centre back. Like we said that they were poor last week when they had their full team. Now they're missing their goalkeeper, 3 centre backs, a couple other players suspended, and like we just looked so shot of confidence that first half. We made a lot of changes too, and I personally will go into team selection in a second. I think that was a mistake. I think we should have gone a little bit stronger and just killed the game off. I'm not saying we should have gone full team, but we should have been miles away from them. And it's just sometimes you're watching the game and you're thinking, right, Luca is this new striker signing who is meant to come in and do something, and he can't even pick up the ball off those two. And I don't want to bury him completely because he's only played 3 games, but tonight couldn't pick up the ball. Their 4th and 5th choice centre backs were bullying him. Then you had Hutchinson, who was great for the first bit of the first half. Then the second bit of the second half, he kept losing the ball. It was just they're not good. They're not a good side. Even their first string side we should be beating. We did last week. And I'll be honest with you, it was that first half performance after the first 10 or 15 minutes of a good spell was awful. It was awful.
Yeah, once they scored, it certainly was. Let's talk about team selection. I've got a different view to Chris on team selection, which I'll explain why. But what did you make of it, Sam, with the team you picked?
I'm somewhere in the middle. I think I probably agree with Chris in the sense that I wouldn't have gone full strength, but I would have played a few more first team players. There was wholesale changes, really, wasn't there? There was a lot of changes. I think I would have played one of Milenkovic or Marillo at the back. I would have made a few more changes. I mean, the squad's still strong enough to go out and not get beat 3 or 4-0, but it was looking that way at half time. I genuinely was really concerned at half time that if those same 11 players stayed out, we'd be out tonight, honestly. So I'm somewhere in the middle, Matt. I think I just think the likes of Yatesy and McAtee will be frustrated. I thought Cunha did all right, other than the naive challenge. I thought Marillo was okay. Some nervous things in the first half, though. But yeah, it's not one of those occasions for me really where you say, you know, a lot of the times we've said like the out of favour players haven't done enough in the Europa League. I think tonight wasn't really that case. I think no one in the first half really did much, and everyone looked, even the likes of Anderson, didn't look great. You know, some big players in there didn't look great for us. So yeah, I think I'm somewhere in the middle, Matt, and I think that in the end the 4 changes did make the difference. I think we probably should have started with 2 or 3 of those.
I think my take on it was, well, I did a pre-match preview where I put my team in. I would have played Milenkovic to have some seniority in the centre backs. Jai Cunha was the one I thought did all right, actually, apart from the penalty, which I thought was a bit soft. I'd be interested to hear people's take on that. So I thought Cunha did all right. I worry about Marillo every time. He just has these moments. Like I'll ask Sam about the goal in a bit. I thought Marillo was at fault for that, and we'll talk about Marillo. My reason I think you have to make changes is if we play our strongest 11, we're going to get relegated because they're just knackered by the end of games. So I was sort of all right with the team. I hate Marillo at left back, and we'll discuss that as well. But I would have played Milenkovic just for some seniority down the spine. That's why I thought it was that's why I assume Anderson played. But as Sam said, I thought he had an off night. Some of our senior players' passing was terrible as well. But yeah, I can sort of understand the theory behind Pereira's team for the most part. But so what would your team have been roughly, Chris? How many of those players that started tonight as backups would you have wanted in?
Well, like, let's just list them, right? So how many players did we start that wouldn't start a normal game, right? Now, I know Dominguez he has started on a few occasions, but in reality, in terms of the midfield, it's Sangare, Anderson, and Gibbs-White, right? So you've got McAtee, Dominguez, Cunha, Morato. Marillo's playing left back, so he's playing out of position, right? So we can sort of include that. He's a starting player, but he's playing left back. And then you had Luca up front, and then was there Yates as well? So 6 or 7 changes. That's a little bit too much for my liking, considering obviously we won 3-0 away from home, but we're bringing them at home and you have a full game to play and you don't want what happened to happen. So for me, it's what Sam said. 2 or 3 more of the players. Shore up your back line. I'm not saying play your full back 4, but 3 of those defenders were out of position. So Marillo was playing left back, and you had Jar Cunha and Morato playing together, and they haven't played much together this season at all, let alone played any football. So for me, you have to just shore it up a little bit. I like that he had the spine, right? I like that he had Anderson still there, and I thought he had the spine. Actually, he didn't have Marillo. He had Marillo left back. But anyway, my point is just make it 7 or 8 starting players with 3 or 4 changes in there, and then rotate with some other starting players, like get Gibbs-White on the pitch and then maybe get someone else off, or get Sangare on and Anderson off, and just like try and rotate some of your starting players within that 7 or 8. If you kill the game early, Matt, like I know you're worried we get relegated, but if you kill the game early, or you go in at half time and you still have your lead intact, by the time you get to the 55th minute, those players are coming off anyway. So the ones you're worried about are getting tired of coming off anyway, and then you have 35, 40 minutes of the last bit of the game to see it out. So yeah, that's what I would have done. I would have had 7 or 8 starting players, probably 8, and three rotational players, and then rotate again. We just kind of invited them onto us, and that hasn't done us the world of good now anyway, because second half we had to bring on the big guns and play them anyway. So that's what I would have done. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, right? If we'd gone into halftime still 0-0 and 3-0 up, I'd be saying, Matt Davies, you were correct. So but I would have said that from the beginning. Do you know what I mean?
I think my other thinking is, we've got a 3-0 lead. Fenerbahce are decimated. Surely, even backup players should be good enough to see a tie out. So just manage the game comfortably. Some of these players have struggled under a lot of managers now, Sam. I mean, I suppose you have to point finger at players a little bit. We'll talk about individuals, but shouldn't we be able to manage a game against Fenerbahce when we've got that big advantage?
I'd say so, and I would have thought so. But like you say, there's been some really poor performances from some of them players. So maybe can you trust them? As silly as that sounds against a second string Fenerbahce side, probably not, to see the job through. But yeah, I thought individuals that have struggled, like Jack Cunha, I thought he did okay tonight, like you said. So I just think it's a case of it just needed freshening up, and I think the manager's just got a bit worried, as you would, and thought, no, I can't watch this much longer. Who knows? Maybe the second half would have been different. Maybe it would have been a different feel, and that team would have changed things around. I can't see it. I think he did the right thing. And it is worrying, Matt, to be fair, that you can't rely on those kind of players. I mean, the striker, wow. That's as bad as I've seen from a 45-minute performance in a very long time. And I feel for him because he looked very low on confidence towards the end. But everything he was touching, and he's getting manhandled as 6'7" by Guendouzi, centre half. It just didn't seem right to me at all. He didn't seem like he wanted to get in the areas where the ball. Maybe the wingers need to learn where he was, but I thought that was a really poor night and a worrying night because we need him. We can't just rely on Igor Jesus, and we know his record in the Premier League isn't the greatest for whatever reason. Maybe that's a coincidence, I don't know. But we need Lorenzo Luca, and tonight was a really poor 45 minutes for me. And you could even see some of the players getting really frustrated with him. So, that was interesting to watch. That was from him.
Yeah, that's one of the big takeaways is in the Premier League, sort of back again discussing how much can you trust these players. I don't mind McAtee. I thought I wouldn't mind putting him on in a Premier League game. He didn't have a great night. Luca's probably the one, Chris. And you don't like to absolutely bury a player because, as Sam said, he's new, he's low on confidence. But you can only talk about the performances that you're seeing. And he really, really struggled. Taiwo might be injured, but he's not in the Europa League squad anyway. I really would like to find out if Taiwo is available for Brighton, but you don't want to absolutely batter Lorenzo Luca, but it was a troubling performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, and look, if it's his first game, fine, but it's his second or third game now, and you have to criticize players when they're not playing well. You have to, you just have to, because it's just the reality of the situation. He's not the only one. We can't just direct all our anger at him because there was some really poor performances that first half, really awful stuff the first half, and the second half was a little bit better. But yeah, that first half, Luca just wasn't good, and it's do you know what as well is I do worry about his confidence because he plays in a league that should be well capable of managing those kind of defenders. It's not like the Premier League where you go, well, he's up against Van Dijk and Konate or whatever. He is better than that tonight. That's the one thing I'll give him. We know that Luca has done better in Serie A against better teams than that tonight. So he's better than what we saw tonight. But it's just, that's why I worry about his confidence, because tonight should have been the chance that he had to go against fourth and fifth string centre backs where we can take them on.
Well, and the moment he got the midfielder playing centre back.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. And do you know what as well? The moment he got the yellow card, Matt, that yellow card, his confidence dropped completely. His confidence was already pretty poor and pretty low at that point. But once he got the yellow card, I felt that his night's done. I already knew then. I was like, yeah, his night's done. So, yeah, we don't want to batter him, but he stands out tonight, specifically from the first half, as not great.
Some good news. The New Zealand Herald are reporting that they think Chris Wood could be back mid to late April. So, excuse me, mid-April is Burnley, is the mid-April game. That's 6 games to go. So if that pans out to be accurate, that'd be really good news. And we'll keep an eye on that and kind of cling to that and wait for Taiwo injury news, because we can't rely on Igor Jesus solely, as these lads have said. There was another player who I wasn't actually annoyed at, Luca. There was one player who actually I was a little bit annoyed at tonight in the first half, and that was Marillo, who I don't know what his instructions are of how to play left back. But I found the way he went about it slightly annoying. He popped up in midfield at one point. I thought he was really sloppy on the ball. I don't know if he treated it like a jolly, but they didn't give me good vibes at all. Firstly, what did you make of his performance, Sam? Have I been too harsh in terms of performance without knowing his attitude?
No, I don't think you are. I think it was really poor. I don't really know what he was doing for most of the half. Some really sloppy passes. Even the Hutchinson one, it's not a great pass, don't get me wrong, but he looked like really... I don't know what Marillo was doing there. If he's on his toes and stuff like that, I'm sure he can. Yeah, he just looked really heavy-footed all night, in the wrong position. Like you say, going into midfield, whether he's been told that, I doubt he's being told that. In a way, it looked like you're right. It could have been like a mentality thing. I'll do what I want in this new position. I'm not sure. But yeah, it was a poor 45, and it just goes to show that he was the guy taken off. Normally, you'd think in a big second half, but you could see Pereira was getting really irritated by some of the things he was doing. And yeah, and he's not a left back, and I think that experiment should be finished now. I know we haven't really got many alternatives. Well, you could have started with Vayner, which I would have done, by the way. That's one of the players I would have started with. But yeah, I couldn't really believe what I've seen from Marillo, some of the things he was doing. And I think the fact he played left back is probably why we saw McAtee on the right. I was going to touch on that because I think Pereira wouldn't have anticipated Marillo to be as attacking as he was. So you need a bit of directness on the left-hand side. So I think that's why Hutchinson played on that side. McAtee was on the right, whereas I think normally you'd probably see Hutchinson on the right, wouldn't you? And Dominguez on the left, like he's done a lot of the time this season. And then McAtee in his best position. So I think that Marillo not only killed himself tonight, but probably killed McAtee a little bit because he had to play out of position, I think.
Yeah, I thought when he took him off at half time, I thought it was a real indictment of him because he left the two centre halves on who had a rough half. So yeah, I thought that was a point made to Marillo. Also, I criticised Sean Dyche when he said he wanted to play Marillo at left back, Chris, against Leeds, and then so I felt I don't like what Pereira's doing there. To me, Marillo is just a centre back. People say he should play in midfield. I think he'd be an absolute liability. And left back, he struggled. So as Sam said, is this? Whatever, like Luca should be in this squad, by the way. I don't know why he's not. If Savona's injured and Abbott wasn't around tonight, but yeah, is this, as Sam said, the end of Marillo at left back, Chris, or do you see something there that I don't?
No, this is it. This has got to be it. I mean, didn't he get injured against Mal when he's playing with Malmo? Like, obviously, we can't be. He has less to do at centre back than he does at left back, it seems. And to be honest, like. Again, you're right. Like, we do have to criticize the manager a bit for that because we can see it didn't work before, and I understand that he wants to make changes, but putting him at left back, it just hasn't worked. The other thing as well is, and I wonder what Sam thinks of this, is did the wing backs feel like they were playing a little high all the time? There was always space just in behind. It felt like Marillo and Williams we're just playing it just a little too high, and even in the second half, Aina was just playing a little high, and to be fair to Jared Cunha, he could cover a little bit, but it just felt like we were playing those wing backs really high, and that didn't help us or do us any favors. And you look at Marillo, he was marauding forward the whole time, and like you said, inverting Matt. No, it's not a good place for him to be. He's not a left back; he's a centre back, and I am surprised by that. And that is on the manager. But yeah, Sam, am I right in saying that? In terms
you are.
That
was a big issue tonight. I was going to touch on that, Chris. You're right, because they played at three at the back, and we know Pereira does like to have a bit of a high press, or when we press, we're very aggressive. So you had Hutchinson and McAtee pressing the centre halves. So then our fullbacks had to go right up against their wing backs, really high, if that makes sense. And a lot of the time when Forest turned the ball over, that's why they were so high up, because they were already in that position anyway. So if we lost the ball, which we were doing countless times, there were massive gaps behind them, which we saw for the goal, really. To be fair, it's a perfect example of it. So I did really like the way we set up the press tonight, but the first half had to be so much more aggressive, because yes, we're pressing their centre halves with our wingers, which is a direct way to press. But you're right, that meant that our fullbacks, Marillo and Williams, had to push right up. And then when we lost the ball, following our regain, they were way too high at the pitch. So yeah, that was interesting to see.
Just to talk us through that first goal then, Sam, because that's where it came from, I think, as you're saying.
I'm struggling to remember what actually happened. I think, did Marillo lose the ball? I'm not too sure. It came from...
We lost it really high, and then they popped it into their striker, and Morato was marking him, and then Morato was kind of taken out, wasn't he? Because they passed it around him, and then they were in. That's a bit too easy, isn't it?
I think Cunha had a good night, but I think for both goals he can do better. I think the penalty is naive, really, to dive a leg in, and I think for that first goal, so he had two options. He can either press the man or he can cut off the passing lane. And he did neither, really. He kind of backed off the man, so you think, okay, cut off the passing lane then and show him down the line. So he has to shoot. And he was in no man's land, really. That's why the play could put it across. I know it's still hard to do 2 versus 1 in that situation, but yeah, I think for that goal he can do better as well, because he did nothing really. But yeah, it came from, like Chris touched on, Marillo being too high. We lost the ball. That space was on. It just seemed far too easy, didn't it? I think Morato got too tight to his man potentially as well. So poor goal to concede.
Yeah, I did wonder, like, I said in Discord for the members, if Cunha, because I remember there was a chance in a recent game, it was against Arsenal, where I think it might be Gabriel, just let the guy run almost right in goal and take a shot from a bad angle, and he sort of didn't do either. Nico Williams slid in. I thought he was going to handball it for a penalty again. It was, pretty ugly. That's Ortega, actually. I thought Ortega was going to go off injured. That would have been an absolute disaster. But at the end of that first half, Chris, Ortega kept us in it a couple of times, didn't he? We were absolutely all over the shop at the end of that half.
Absolutely on the ropes. And, like, you know what? They should have scored twice. There was a chance, maybe even 3 times. They had a chance where Anderson passed it back, made a mistake. I think it was Sheriff got in behind, or Sharif got in behind, hit the side netting, and that was just sort of a half chance. But there was another chance where they pulled it back, and I think it was the penalty, the goal scorer. He had a chance dead on goal, and he dragged it wide. And then there was that save that you're talking about where Ortega kept us. That was actually deflected off Morato. So Morato got a foot to it, but deflected it, and Ortega made a really good save. No, he did keep us in it, and even with a couple of their corners. I think one of them Ortega might have palmed out or something, and you're kind of thinking slippy night. I'm lucky that happened, or you know what I mean. But yeah, look, I think Ortega kept us in second half, but they the first half they should have scored at least 2 goals before half time.
Just on the other changes, who was the other player who came off at half time? I think we covered them all, didn't we? Oh, just on Yates. Yeah, McAtee we've discussed, Luca we've discussed, Marillo we've discussed. The only other thing to say about Yates is his finger was absolutely effed up at one stage pretty early in the game. Would that affect your performance, Sam? I'm giving him a real excuse there, but
probably not him. Some players, not him.
Yeah,
we know he's a warrior and stuff. I just thought Yates looked off the pace tonight for whatever reason. Wasn't aware of what was around him. The game looked a bit too fast for him, which I don't normally say. So yeah, hopefully that's just a one-off for him. But he'll be disappointed because he knows that Sangare, Anderson, and Gibbs White's the nail on midfield, and we know what he's like. He want to break through into that, and you just can't see it right now. And every time the manager comes in, he'll be thinking, this is the guy to impress. I want to get back in the team, but it's not quite working out for him at the moment. So yeah, I think probably the right call for him to come off. I think Sangare, we missed his energy, and he just seemed more on it than Yates, didn't he? He just seemed like more alive and anticipating more things. So yeah, probably the right call.
Do you think on Yates longer term, we sort of ask this question every time a manager comes in who wants to pass the ball more, which I think Pereira does. He wants his midfield to be able to look after the ball, doesn't he? Is Yates back into probably struggling to climb the pecking order and even be third or fourth choice now?
I think potentially, and I think it's going to come to a crossroads at some point, because the club will probably be thinking Yates is a great guy to have around and a brilliant captain and leader and a perfect squad player, but knowing him as well, he'll want to be much more than that. So it'll come to a point where you wonder what's going to happen with that. I'm not saying he's going to leave or anything like that, but you do think, will he want to accept that role? Because I can't see him starting, to answer your question. I can't see it. I think even Dominguez is probably fourth choice if one of those midfielders drops out at the moment. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one in the summer, I think.
Yeah, well, if we stay up, certainly, if we get relegated, then yeah, he's a bedrock of the team next season. Just before we get back to matters, quick word for the Trent Nav. Coming up on the 6th of March at 6 p.m, it's a free entry to an opening party for Over the Road, so you can get free pizza, discount drinks. Oasis are playing, so do check that out. You can have a look, because I bang on about it on here. It'd be really good. If you're looking for a private hire venue, or you just want to see what it's got to offer, do head down at 6 p.m. On Friday. Second half then, Chris. I mean, I must admit, I was actually quite chilled out at 1-0 and thought, we'll make the subs. I thought he'd put Milenkovic on. We'll steady the shit, we'll be all right. And then you do start to panic, don't you, when the second goal goes in. Did you think it was a penalty for what it's worth or not?
The second action, yeah. The first action, no. The second action is left foot catches him. And it's not going to get overturned. And if it's the other way around, it might not get overturned the other way either. They might just let it go. But if the ref gives it, it's likely not to get overturned. I think the first action, no, but the left foot that caught his back heel was a penalty for me. I'd be screaming out for that if it was the other way. And yeah, to your point, emotionally, I mean, it's the most Forest thing ever. Oh, look, we're 1-0 down. Let's make the change. Do you know what I mean? Let's make the changes. He's made the changes now. He's made the changes. And then they get in behind, and it's a penalty immediately. And I think I was complaining because I thought we should have changed the centre-backs. I felt like Milenkovic should have come on and just shored the game up. But, and I'm sure we'll touch on this a little bit later, to their credit, after the penalty, Jarcunia and Marillo were okay. Particularly Jarcunia, he was really good. After it was like he'd switched him into gear, and he after that, Jarcunia was actually excellent, and he's much faster than I thought he was actually, because he covered really well. Marillo had a couple of shaky moments, but for the most part after that they were good. But no, that moment there in the second half is the most Forest thing ever. And I was actually sat down there on the pub with 6 or 7 gentlemen, and literally we all looked at each other and we thought, yeah, it's happening, isn't it? Like, you just feel that moment of, oh yeah, this is it. Stoke, Yeovil, Blackpool, this is where it's gone. And thankfully it didn't. The goal, Hudson-Odoi's goal made the difference. But yeah, horrendous. Yes, I do think it was a penalty.
Yeah, even Swansea this season as well. Does that play into your mind, Sam, when you're on the pitch? If it's happened before, it could happen again.
Yeah, 100%. Even speaking from experience this season, I know this is a Forest podcast, but my club, Kingsland, we've had a lot of moments like that where we've conceded late goals. It's probably because it's happened a lot this season. You start to do it more and more. It becomes a habit that you want to get rid of. So, yeah, I think when it went 2-0, you got to give Forest a lot of credit for that, because they could have gone under there. There would have been a lot of pressure. Again, probably shows how poor Fenerbahce are in general, really. But I was surprised they didn't really when you think of a big European game when you're 1 goal behind after a 3-0 deficit, you've clawed it back to 2-0, 3-2 on aggregate. You think they're going to go for it, but I didn't really see much of a threat from them. And then the big goal from Hudson-Odoi was massive, wasn't it? It was huge. So much relief after that. But yeah, I think Forest, no doubt, for that 2 or 3 minutes after that goal would have been panicking. So fair play for for not going under.
Yeah, once Asensio came on, I thought they'd step it up, but they didn't. I can understand why they didn't have a lot in the tank otherwise, because they're so short. But they brought Salido on, they brought Asensio on, and we were actually, I think the other thing, we were quite comfortable, Chris. But even some of our senior players' passing was poor. I thought Anderson was sloppy in the second half at times, Sangare at times. Olorino actually in the build up to the goal played a really sloppy ball out wide to Hudson-Odoi, and we recovered it and scored from it ultimately. But yeah, it was a bit troubling just in general. Does it worry you for the future or not?
For me, the home form worries me. I mean, like, we haven't won a home Premier League game since Tottenham back in December, right? And in terms of even tonight, like, I'm almost glad that, because I think in the next round, whoever we play away second. And you would think that that's a disadvantage for you, right? You want to bring them back home. I actually think it might be more of an advantage for us at this rate. The pressure will be off into the second leg. We'll go in there and we'll fight away from home and we'll do the best we can, because our home form at the moment is terrible and there's always a nervousness around us. And to be fair, the fans did really well tonight. Like, we lost that match tonight and the fans were cheering and buoying up the team as soon as we scored that goal. I thought the fans were great once the goal went in. So the fans have done their part, but for some reason the players under the lights of the home crowd at the moment just don't seem to be able to get it over the line. So yeah, look, that's what worries me the most, is our home form. In terms of some of the better players not playing well, I think they'll pick it up. I mean, we saw some of them do absolutely unbelievable stuff last week, so I think they'll be okay. It's just frustrating that we can't just make it a little bit easier on ourselves in these moments. But I just want our home form to get better, and I don't know when that'll be.
Thomas wants me to explain the lip, so I can do, I suppose. I haven't been in a fight or anything. I'm on antibiotics. I've got an infection. If I didn't have double chins and a beard, you'd see my neck is really swollen as well, and I've slept quite a lot the last few days. So that's the reason, Thomas, I'm suffering. I suppose there's 2 questions, Sam, around home form. Then I've asked this question a lot tonight. I appreciate the psychology of the players, and also we just cannot finish chances. We had chances again tonight, so where's the balance lie?
I think, touching on the home form in general first, I think maybe I'm reaching here, but one of the issues could be that I think under Nuno and even Cooper back in the Championship, the reason our home form was so good is, playing on there myself, it feels like a really tight, congested pitch where you can soak up pressure, which Forest did brilliantly last year and did well in the Championship under Cooper, and then hit teams on the break with the likes of Elanga's pace or Johnson's pace, and then you've got players like Wood to finish. And it just seems different this season. Under every manager, it doesn't feel like that. So I think the fact Forest are more expansive in a way, I don't know if Chris agrees with me here, probably hurting us a little bit at home, because it's a pitch that really suits Forest. You think of all of our brilliant results the last couple of years against the big teams in particular at home. It's when we've soaked up pressure and hit teams on the break. I'm remembering a few goals in particular now, so that could be something. Maybe I'm reaching there, but I think that is something. And when you go away and the pitch opens up a little bit more, then you can play a bit more expansive. And thinking of games like Brentford and things like that, where we've scored goals like that. But yeah, my point is maybe that's why this team isn't quite suited to that small, congested pitch. I'm not sure. The players will be on the players' mind. Of course it will, because they'll want to win at home more than anything. For the fans, it feels great to win at home. And that needs to change quickly, like Chris has said, because that can't continue. If we're going to get out of this relegation battle and finish ahead of West Ham, then our home form is vital. It has to change. And it's so frustrating that, the other day against Liverpool, it was so close to being that way. It would have been a great point or great win, which I think we deserved. So yeah, I've got confidence that it will change, but I think we have to maybe even play the pitch better, as I've said there. I think maybe there's a bit of naiveness in that. And regarding the finishing, that's just, whether that's just at this point poor finishing, you've got to say it on a consistent basis, or it's just a bit of luck needs to turn in front of goal. I'm not so sure. It could be a mixture of the two. But you'd like to think all of these chances that we are getting at home will soon go in.
I do think for me it's poor finishing at this stage. There was, in the first half, we'd had quite a few good openings where we flashed balls across the 6-yard box and things like that. But the couple in the second half, Chris, like Igor Jesus's one-on-one, He actually did really well to get in the position this time after the nightmare of the Van Dijk thing at the weekend. And then Hutchinson's one-on-one. I'll ask Sam about that, the technical, how he went about that. But we can't keep passing these up. Those were chances on the break when Fenerbahce passed up, but we just have to put those in the net. Well, at least one of them, don't we, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I actually think the Hutchinson one, he gave the keeper the eyes and then he tried to put it near post. So I actually think it was a decent effort and a good save. The keeper did well. I think the Jesus one, like you said, he was able, he had the time to drag it onto his left foot and he didn't have the time against Van Dijk, so he should just have had a snapshot. But he shot, I thought he has to finish that. He has to finish that. First half, by the way, just as you mentioned there, Matt, you're right. There was balls flashed across the box and Luca wasn't there. So Luca wasn't even in the right place, the right time. I mean, even last week, Jesus was in the right place in the right time for that header when it was skimmed across by Gibbs-White. So that was the frustration first half. Second half, the finishing, yeah, we just have to be better. Hutchinson did well. I think he got himself to a good position and I think he had a decent effort. It was just a very good save. But Jesus, I think he kind of got to be finishing them. And yeah, we just look like, and the funny thing is, Hudson-Odoi's goal, I mean, it's a decent chance, but it's not an unbelievable chance. He just drags it well. I think it's through the player's legs and across the keeper. So we score from a chance that's sort of like less good than the other two chances, which was frustrating. We've got to be better. But we've banged on about this for weeks and weeks and weeks. Our finishing at the moment is awful. It's awful.
My question about the Hutchinson goal, or not goal, was I thought he took it so early. Sometimes you want a player to take it early and stop the keeper getting set. But when you're one-on-one, I don't know, Sam, do you take it in closer to give so the keeper's going to think he's going to take it round, he's going to lift it over me, or he's going to try and smash it? When you shoot from that stage, you can only do one thing, can't you?
I completely agree. I know keepers, when you ask them, say it's harder when a player shoots early when you go one-on-one with them. But for me there, I think it was, I probably disagree with Chris for the first ever time on this podcast. I think it was, would you believe it? I think it was a poor choice to go back. I know what he was trying to do, but for me there, you take another couple of touches, small touches, and put it the other side. I think it's a lot harder to save, which we know he can do. Hard and low rather than, I think it was perfect height for the keeper. Yeah, I think he took it early, Matt, like you say, and I wouldn't have gone for the reverse technique there. I don't really see the benefit of that unless you're really close to the goal or a wide angle. So I think, yeah, that's a poor miss from Hutchinson, that is. I think he should be opening his body up. To be fair, though, I don't know what you guys thought, but I never really had too much confidence in him scoring, even when he went in there. We haven't really seen that clinical edge from him yet. We've seen a lot of good assists and brilliant dribbles and good moments in games. We've not seen him scoring a fair few goals, which is probably his next step, would you say? Because he's impacting games now, but we need him to add more goals to his game. I still can't believe Forest's record, especially at home, in front of goal. Second worst in the league, I believe. And I think it's quite close to Wolves now, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's a big improvement that needs to happen. But yeah, I think he should have done better with that chance.
It was a good finish by Hudson-Odoi, though, wasn't it, Chris?
It was.
Because I've been critical. Well, I'm not been critical. I've highlighted his lack of goals in a Forest shirt. This one, he took it on his weaker foot and put it low in the corner, which is the kind of thing we probably haven't seen enough of him. He tried to do that trademark shot too much, I think. That was really good for him tonight, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, a gentleman, Gary, next to me said to me that when Hudson-Odoi takes a touch or two, he generally gets a good shot away. But when he hits it first time, he doesn't usually score them. And I think that was the case for the last couple of seasons where he would take a touch, cut inside, do his trademark. But that hasn't really been coming off for him. He had a shot flashed just wide second half as well, after he'd scored the goal, which usually is his trademark, buried bottom right hand corner. But yeah, he's doing better just bringing it down the outside and dragging it across with his left. And even if he doesn't score from that, maybe one of our strikers will be in the right place to get it in the back of the net. But it's doubtful because the state of play at the moment. But yeah, no, he did well. He did well with that. And it's just, we need him to step up clinically because the others aren't and the strikers aren't. And Hudson-Odoi is probably our most clinical forward at the moment, and he's not scoring goals. So if we can get him scoring goals and maybe one of the other two on the mark, we might just be okay. But yeah, he did really well with that. And I prefer him on the outside at the moment because on the inside, he's not getting the goals we love to see.
Yeah, I wish Hutchinson had scored just to give him that confidence. I mean, Igor Jesus does score in Europe, so he'll keep plugging away, no matter, even if he's struggling. I'm sure he'll keep trying his hardest. No worries on that front. Just before we look at Brighton quickly, I mean, was Hutchinson pick of the bunch? Not Hudson-Odoi pick of the bunch for his goals, Sam, or was there anyone else that comes off in credit
I'd say
for
so.
you?
I thought he played well second half. I thought he played well when he came on. Yeah, he looked lively. I'm struggling to think of anyone else really, Matt. For the first half, no one really played well from memory. Williams is always okay. He's always a 6, 7 out of 10, isn't he? But yeah, I agree. I thought Shaqiri in second half did really well after the penalty given away. But yeah, I think Hudson-Odoi is our brightest spark tonight. No one stands out thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I did. Yeah, Hudson-Odoi, Cunha did do quite well in phases today. It's just he's still miles off Marillo and Milenkovic's levels. It's just such a concern that if we get any senior injuries, then even anywhere on the pitch, actually, if we get any senior injuries, apart from wingers, I'm pretty worried about it. Just on that as well, Chris, anyone stand out for you tonight?
I actually think Williams was a bit poor tonight, poorer than usual. I think there was a couple of moments where he was caught out, particularly when he was playing right back. So I couldn't say him. Anderson was poor for his level. It's for me, it's got to be. I think maybe Jaracuna, because that first half we were so disjointed, and then giving away the penalty in the 46th minute or whatever, and then being able to turn it around. And he just kind of had a couple of really big moments second half, where he covered really well, or he stepped into play. He even got forward at one point and had a shot on goal. And I think he did the right thing. Most people have said square, but I think he had a decent enough shot on goal to try and turn it around. And he almost grew into the game after making the mistakes. And that's kind of what you want to see from players whose head completely drops. They make a mistake. If they can have the mentality to come back and do that, I think you got to give them credit. So yeah, I think Sam's right. There was no real bright sparks, but I kind of give it to Jaracuna for the performance after we conceded that second goal, the penalty.
Olorine got a couple of mentions in the chat, I see. 766 people with us, which is great. Do us a favour and hit like if you haven't already. That'd be really appreciated. Quick word of thanks for Home Move estate agents. If you're looking to buy or sell in the area, do click the link in the description. You can see the number on screen, and it's ben@homemovea.co.uk. But do go to their website so you can see the full inventory of properties they've got in Notts, Lincolnshire, Northamptonshire, if you're looking to relocate, all around the region, and they are 5-star rated on Google, so do give them a look. Just wrapping things up then, looking at Brighton, because that's such a big game now. How are you seeing it, Sam? Because obviously we're going to revert back to the team that played v Liverpool, I would put by 10 out of 11 or 11 out of 11. So how are you seeing that game?
Yeah, massive. I think it's massive. I think every game now is massive. And I said a couple of weeks ago on this podcast, it wouldn't surprise me if Forest went and got a result there. I think, maybe more so under Sean Dyche. That was Forest's kind of game. Honestly, who knows how it's going to go? I thought the team would be full of confidence today. I know there's a few changes, but after a really good performance against Liverpool, I know we lost the game, which is going to kill us in the end, obviously, of that game, the mood. But I thought we'd go into that game today full of confidence, and it wasn't that. So who knows? But I'm really hoping we get something from Brighton. Even a point is just something to keep us ticking over and start to get something going. It'll be a tough ask, though. It'll be a tough ask, and if we're being honest, it could be a tough afternoon. But yeah, I just think anything, Matt, would be brilliant. Any sort of result to kickstart our end of season.
Yeah, I must admit, Chris, I've got absolutely no idea how that game's going to go on Sunday now. Partly because of us and partly because of Brighton, because they've been in horrible form, but then they beat Brentford and it sounds like they played much better, but they've got a stinking performance in them. I don't know what we're going to be, so I feel like it could be anything. And with the fixtures to come, a draw isn't a terrible result. We do need to pick up wins, obviously, but yeah, we've got to take something from it for me.
Well, yeah, we play City the following week, and most likely we're not going to get anything from that game. Let's just be realistic about that. The Etihad away. I'm not saying we can't, but the Man City game is going to be really difficult, all right? Everyone knows it. They're going for the title. The Brighton game, I mean, on a purely vibes basis, non-tactical strategic basis, on a purely vibes basis, I feel like if we can get a goal away early in that kind of game, it'll give the entire team a huge boost. And that's an obvious thing to say, but where that stand is behind the goal, it's the fans. I've sat there before. The fans are completely behind the goal, and it's a really good away end. You saw Everton get a late equaliser against them the other week, and Moyes was on the pitch. There's just an away vibe about that stadium, right? And the home fans aren't really that loud, right? So I feel like if we can get a goal for the away fans down there, the away fans will be singing the whole. I mean, they'll be singing the whole game anyway. but they'll really get behind them. And that's for me, that's what it is. I believe that we can do it, but it's going to come down to the atmosphere and then the players' confidence. And I think that will be fed onto the pitch by the fans. In terms of how we're going to play, I don't know. I hope we don't play really open football and let their dangerous wingers in behind us. There's players like Gomez and Mitoma playing really well at the moment. But yeah, I think that the atmosphere and the fans, and if we can get a goal for once, I think that's going to make a big difference. I don't think it's going to be a draw. I think there's going to be a win in it either way. And I just hope to God it's us.
Yeah, I've done the opposition preview with Az, the Brighton regular, and he says as soon as if they don't score first, they really, really struggle. And that they struggled. They're a bit like us, Sam. It sounds like they struggle to score goals as well. They've got Welbeck, Dunk, Gross, Milner, all the wrong side of 30, and their younger players have been inconsistent. So I know they've got more points than us, but they feel like a similar sort of side to us, especially while the way Pereira wants to play. So is it going to be a really tight battle where it's, again, as Chris says, it's an easy thing to say, but first goal's massive.
Yeah, I get that exact same feeling as well. I feel like if we get that goal, you'll see confidence, you'll see assurance, you'll see togetherness. If we go behind, then it could be exactly the opposite. It could become a tough afternoon. I think like Chris said, I think it's a game where you want the team to be, defensive minded and try and hit them on the break. I think we can do that with our attacking talent and some of the pace we've got. I think we can hurt them. I would not like to see Forest going expansive. I know Vitor Pereira does like to press high and open things up a little bit and play through midfield. I'm not sure this game is that game. Span City certainly isn't a few days after, but yeah, I'd like to see Forest try and be defensively strong and try and hit Brighton on the break. And like you said, Matt, I could see anything in this game. I could see a 2-1 Forest win. I could see a 1-0 win. I could see a 3-0 loss. Honestly, I'm hoping for the first one of those, a Forest win, but who knows? I just think it could be anything, and we'll see.
I checked this out. Jimmy Bob's right here. They've one win in 3 months at home. That was against Burnley. Before that, you have to go back to November when they beat Brentford at home. So they are susceptible at home. So yeah, there's plenty to play for and plenty of reasons for hope. But I'm just not really sure what we're going to get. And someone else in the chat said as well about who's going to play in goal. Obviously, Ortega looked like he was legit struggling there. Nick Purdy it was. Thanks, Nick. So we'll see if Angus Gunner's playing goal. Casells is still out as far as I'm aware for at least a few more weeks. So there's more to talk about, and we'll do that tomorrow at 1 with Mikey and Steve. Just before we wrap things up then, if you have enjoyed this, do us a favour, hit like, hit subscribe, do consider membership or Patreon. 5-star reviews always appreciated on Apple or Spotify. Chris, any final words, anything you want to add before we go?
I think I'm just very much, and I've said this to a few people, like a results man. And I know that everyone says, well, if we play like we played against Liverpool on Sunday, we'll stay up. I mean, if we play like we played against Liverpool on Sunday, we'll concede late and not score any goals. So you can look at it whatever way you want.
I don't know.
No, relax. There's gonna be a positive thing coming here. The way I see it is, I have to believe there's more in this team in terms of results. Like, I feel like we have been unlucky. The Liverpool game was an unlucky one. I do think that we are capable of getting 4 wins to keep us up. We need to forget everyone else and focus on ourselves in terms of the league. In terms of Europe, we're through to the last 16. So no matter what is said, Pereira's got us through by hook or by crook. And as I said, I think it's my Irish football PTSD where I love playing terrible football and getting results. And if results are all that matter, it doesn't matter. We got through today. So on a positive note, look, we're into the last 16 in the Europa League. That's something to be happy for. We have another tie. We're 3 ties away from a final. So it's not impossible. And as far as the league goes, like, the away stuff is going to be, we're going to have, I feel like the away games are going to be almost better. I think they'll take the pressure off. I feel like I'd rather play Brighton away on Sunday than at home. I really would. And I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but at this rate, our home form's so poor and we're so nervy at home and so desperate to get a win. I feel like I'm almost welcoming the away games more than the home games. But yeah, in terms of football and stuff, that's all I'll add. And the fans have been brilliant. Even tonight when we were down 2-1, the fans are there, with their torches out and taking the mick and having a laugh. And, I think the fans have just been great. But yeah, I think the away stuff, I prefer the away games right now more than the home ones because of the expectancy at home. And a couple of shout outs real quick. people down at the pub, they're great. A few people showed up there. John and his son Isaac showed up at halftime. They were the good luck charms, and Patrick was there for the first time. So Eddie and the Eagle pub in Dublin, if anyone's in Ireland and you want to watch the other two games in the last 16 and then the quarterfinal and the semi-final and the final, it'll be down at the Eagle.
Ireland's pretty big. I don't know if you want to say the whole of Ireland. You might want to
the whole of Ireland
a little bit, just to Dublin or something.
It's smaller than you think, Matt. It's smaller than you think.
I've been. It's massive. I've driven from one end to the other. It feels pretty massive. Sam, anything you want to add before we go?
Just a couple of quick points. I think tonight what we saw in the second half was great from the fans, and I think it's important we continue that togetherness. We shouldn't be in this position, but we are. That's the reality of it. So we need the fans, just like they did a couple of years ago on the bounce, to get right behind the team as they always do. We need that togetherness, because when Forest is together, I have no doubts that the team will pick up results. If the fans are that good, then I really do think that togetherness will come clutch for us. So I'd encourage that. It was great to see that second half. It was a real nice, not surprise, but just something nice to see, because you're not sure how the fans are feeling at the moment. There was booze at half time, so to see the fans like that, even though we lost the game, was brilliant. And I think the second thing I was going to say is two little things in this segment. I'm really liking Ortega. I think I'm seeing a lot of good moments from him. I feel really calm presence with him, and I think it would be very interesting to see if him and Sells were both fit, who would be playing, because I'd probably favour Ortega. I just think, I know a couple of things here and there, but he seems like he's a really calm. He just seems like he's very calm and assuring, and I think that he's not a really aerial dominant big goalkeeper. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him, so I think that's been a good little signing so far. One of the only good ones you could say this season. On the flip side of that, very, very telling that we haven't seen Bakwa or Odoi tonight in a game like that. I think that's very interesting. I think maybe Pereira's not having them ready. It's early to say, but to make as many changes as he did, 7 or 8, and not include a direct winger like those two, was very interesting. And it just goes to show again, we've talked on it a lot, but the recruitment in the summer, when you look back, is so poor. So many players we can't rely on in games like today where you need them, and that they've been brought in for. And Doyle's probably like 5th choice winger now, back with 6th, something like that. So yeah, I just thought two different sides to that. Ortega I've liked so far, and those two, I think, very interesting. We didn't see them tonight.
Yeah, just a couple of bits from what Sam was saying. A couple of people in the chat have said that Ortega post-match has said that Sells is back in training on Monday, which is really good, because you do want both of them available, so that'll be interesting. He said on the subs, a half-time quadruple sub, my intention was to give confidence to everyone, but in the end it's difficult to look in the eyes of players and make 4 substitutes, but he felt he had to. And as Sam said, it was interesting that Bakwa struggled so much against Liverpool, and then I thought he really needed minutes tonight. So where are his next minutes coming from? Because I don't know, it's going to be hard to turn around, look at his bench, Sam, and say to the Bakwa, if you're 1-0 down against Brighton, I'm putting you on. I can't see it. Can you?
No, I can't. No, absolutely not. And I can't see it for Odoi either. I think, honestly, like we saw tonight, I'd rather play with McAtee or even Dominguez on the wing. I think them two are low down pecking order now. I think Odoi struggled recently off the bench. I know he's sometimes been up front. We've just not seen it from him. We saw it a little bit at the start of the season, but we've not seen it from him. And then Bakwa, I know he's had his injuries here and there, but that looks like a really poor signing at the moment.
Yeah, see how it shakes out. Right, thanks very much to Chris and Sam. Thanks very much to everyone who's joined us. Do hit like before you go. Like I say, back tomorrow, 1 p.m, with Mike and Steve for a match preview, opposition preview on Saturday with Az, which I'll put out on Friday for members, and then post-match show on Sunday. Will, WT Analysis, is doing that, and possibly Ruby. But if not, then someone good will do it to join them if Ruby can't. And then Monday, we'll be back and we'll look ahead to Man City and back on Brighton. And then we've got a break, haven't we? I think that's because we're not in the FA Cup, I guess. So, yeah, let's see how it shakes out after those next couple of games. But at least we're through tonight. We're on to play Midtjylland or Betis. Chris's dream of winning Europa League is alive and well. So let's see how far we can go. Thanks for your company. And if we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.